Okay, welcome to another edition of Carnivore Bites. I'm your host, Jeff Sherman, along with Dr. Eric Lopkin. Okay, I'll ask you a question. The good doctor, what do you think the number one story is? Da-na-na.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah,
It's
obviously the Trump
obviously
indictment.
Trump's indictment. Yeah,
There you go. Your thoughts. With Jack Smith, so let's combine those, another political hack. But what's your assessment of
yeah.
this?
This
Both
is
legally, possibly, and politically.
okay. Legally, I don't think Trump has any problems. The Presidential Records Act basically covers everything that he did, and if he is in violation of the Presidential Records Act, it is not a criminal offense. So they can prosecute him and he'll get a little fine and that'll be the end of it. But they're trying to go after him for espionage, obstruction of just 37 counts. And a lot of these are really inflated. The left is having a ball with this, but pundits have already started talking about the fact that this is a Miami jury. This is not a New York City jury. Floridians love Donald Trump. So, one, you're going to have a hard time finding jurors that are impartial. And two, you're going to have a hard time finding a jury that doesn't believe this is a political hatchet job. And in
Okay,
fact,
any juror that doesn't believe this is a political hatchet job. Okay, again, the question would be: do they watch The View or MSNBC or Jerry?
yeah,
That's
I
about
mean,
the gene pool we're talking about.
this has gotten ridiculous, and the key is going to come in about 5 weeks because if you remember, after the special counsel was appointed to investigate Trump, 5 weeks later, the special counsel was appointed to investigate Biden on the same charges. Now, given that 5 week lag, we can expect a 5 week lag before the special counsel finds anything with Biden. But here's the thing, everybody knows Biden took the documents. We've seen the documents, we've seen the photos.
Next to the
Trump,
Corvette.
yes, Trump as president actually had a reason to take them. And there is precedent set by Bill Clinton because he took documents and basically said he was going through them to separate what was classified and presidential documents versus what was personal documents. So there's actually a precedent for presidents taking the documents. Now, there is no precedent for a senator or a vice president taking documents. He Biden does not have the Presidential Records Act to to fall behind. So if they don't indict Biden, they have basically proven that this is a witch hunt.
Well, what's the bigger overarching? Here's what I feel. I mean, not just because I'm more conservative. I'm really not a big fan of Donald. I think he invites a lot of his own shit, but it's really getting out of control. I mean, you basically we're talking about a Stalinistic state. Selective prosecution. Hillary can bleach, bleach bid her hard drive, smash herself. That's totally fine. Like Comey said, that's no reasonable prosecutor would. And I don't even understand why it should even be a crime. I'm not a lawyer, obviously. He was the president. He was like Billy Bob, the janitor in the White House. Let him sort it out and give the shit back when it's done. But I mean, he was the president. Hello, really?
Yeah, I mean, they're hinging the entire case on the fact that the National Archives asked for the documents back, and Trump said he wasn't done with them yet. That's basically the core of this case. Now, Trump may have a serious problem because now this is what I've heard from some attorneys and actually some judges. Classified documents are a special type of law, and Trump needs attorneys that know classified document law and can be certified to see the classified documents. His current legal team, as I understand it, does not have this specialty. So he needs to replace his legal team with specialists that can deal with this.
Is it a little too late?
No, it's not too late at all. In fact, as long as this is going on, he can do that. Right now, this is just the early stages. So, yeah, Trump needs to replace his legal team with specialists that can handle this. But
Where does
what's
he get
re-
his legal expertise? Where do they go to, like University of Carlsville? I
yeah,
mean, they
I
lose
have no
every time,
idea.
and every time it's like, what the hell are these people?
I
His
have
cases
no
are
idea.
ridiculous. How does he lose? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, he loses because it's politics and not law,
Okay, that's true. Yes.
and that's why the United States has an appeals process, because things like this happen. Uh,
Then
there's
why
a
does
lot of
his former Attorney General Barr? Why did he say that Trump is toast? That's just past
I
animosity or something.
I think it's animosity. Barr doesn't seem to really know what's going on,
I agree with
um,
that.
and again,
Wants
Barr
to
is
be relevant.
Barr, well, he wants to be relevant, but in his defense, Barr is looking at the indictment. Now, the indictment doesn't lay out all of the evidence, that gets shown to the defense in the discovery process. So, Barr is working on the assumption that everything in the indictment is true and that they've got the evidence to back it up. Now, we've talked about this before over and over again. An indictment is not proof. A good prosecutor can indict a ham sandwich if he wants to, just because they convinced a grand jury. And here's something I just learned this, I did not realize this. A grand jury consists of 23 people. To indict, you only need to convince 12. So you don't
That's
even
pretty much a certainty. You can convince 12 people that a UFO built the Madison Square Garden complex
right. So this is not you need a unanimous decision. You just need a simple majority.
with
And
simple people.
right. And this is why a prosecutor can indict a ham sandwich, because it's a very low bar. Also, remember, a grand jury in generally does not hear from the defense. They only hear what the prosecutor wants them to hear. So, yes, Barr is assuming that everything in the indictment is provable and everything is true, but we've seen over and over again that this is not necessarily the case.
Okay, now politically,
Politically, it could supercharge his candidacy. Every time he gets indicted, he sets fundraising records.
okay,
People are
why?
lying
Why? No, why? Why? I think
because
this is
the
so key.
general
It's not a joke. Why?
yeah, the general populace at this point is convinced that this is a political witch hunt. Now, it doesn't mean that people are going to switch from Democrat to voting for him. He's still, but people are tired of this. They it started with Russia, Russia, Russia. It hasn't ended yet, and I know diehard liberals that are going, enough is enough. You have nothing, let it go. People don't believe that this is justice. They understand the Justice Department, the FBI, this has all been weaponized, and they're tired of it. Now, that doesn't mean they want to vote for Trump. And in fact, most of them, not only don't they want to vote for Trump, they don't want to vote for Biden either. But this is getting to the point where the people who are tired of it are just going to stay home. The people who are angered by it, they're coming out in force.
Does it really go to the main issue that Trump might have been right all the time? That what started out as this kind of like a nice little campaign, drain the swamp, turned out actually, not that they really even knew that when he was running, but turned out to be 100% true?
Yeah, this is the deep state. Every time Trump opens his mouth, the deep state proves, despite the fact that they're trying to say, oh, there is no deep state, they keep proving that this is happening. And it has gotten to the point where even Trump haters in the Republican Party are going, really? Hillary did this. Biden did this. Where's the prosecution there? It has become so obvious that it is a partisan policy and has nothing to do with the actual events.
Yeah, I think it. I think if these things fall on their face, I believe that. I truly believe it will be a big accelerator to Trump. I think all the subterfuge about did he do this or did that, it's all going to, and then people would have to ask the question, why? Like, why?
They ha- they have to
Why
ask.
is this going on?
Yeah, they have to ask the question why. But here's another wrinkle in this, and I didn't think it would go down this road, but legal experts I've spoken to are pretty sure it will. This is going to take a long time, which means there is a very strong possibility that this won't even come to trial until after the 2024 election, which means they could be there is the actual possibility that they could be trying a sitting president. Now, I have not been able to get a straight answer on this question because it's never happened before, so no one's really sure. But I have asked legal experts the question: if this doesn't go through until after the election and Trump has actually already won, again, a lot of ifs, can he simply pardon himself? And nobody is sure.
Hmm, that's interesting. Very interesting. So we will have to see. But there's some problems on the other side. Biden's bribery situation is definitely starting to heat up, isn't it?
It is. Not only do they now have the bank records, they allegedly, the FBI has recordings of the person that bribed Biden with Biden on the recordings. And they've been sitting on these recordings. So these need to come out immediately. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. These need to be turned over to. I can understand not wanting to release them to the public, but these need to be turned over to the Congressional Oversight Committee.
Well, when I said Barr said Trump is toast, not just legally. Do you think politically, legally, whatever? I believe Biden's toast. I think they're already circling the wagons. Newsom was on Fox News, Hannity, I believe. There's no way he's good. He has the oomph to finish this through the end. There's no way. No way. There is no way he's going to be able to debate. And in fact, 80% of Democrats want him to debate. And inside information, or whatever you want to call it, uh, there is a lot of angst in the Biden camp that they're scared shitless of RFK Jr. Even though they try to marginalize him as a vaccination, conspiracy whack job. I've heard him on several shows. I got to be honest with you. I would vote for him in a heartbeat. I think he's smart. I think he has good insights. I think in a debate, I would get popcorn. I'd get a couple of Strolls Light, and I'd have a great night because it would be must see entertainment.
Yeah,
Biden
there's
in a debate in his mental condition at this point? Oh
yeah,
my God.
there is no question that RFK Jr. could decimate Biden in a debate,
Destroy
which
him.
of course is why which is why the DNC refuses to schedule any debates.
Well, let me ask you a question. I'm sorry to
I
interrupt, but could it be that if 80% of Democrats want this to happen, will they by default have to capitulate?
They don't have to. It's going to make them look really bad if they don't. Um, Bernie for years has said that the primary process was rigged against him. This is just going to prove that the DNC is rigging their election process.
I thought they
Now,
believed in free speech and democracy, and the Republicans were the threat to democracy. Yada 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 yada.
yeah,
They're the Stalinists. They're
that's
the
the
Lewinskyite.
story. Yeah, that's the story. But that's not the reality. I mean, let's face it, the Democrats are the party of cancel culture. If you don't agree with what they're telling you don't deserve free speech. And oh,
Oh,
yes,
beyond that,
it's
you should possibly be arrested, or your career should be. You should have no career.
right.
Go to woke corporate America and express some conservative views, and tell me how the career is working out 5 years later. Would you like a fries with that double cheeseburger?
But that is starting to change. Many corporations have just said, enough is enough. We don't care what you want us to say. We are here to do business, and that's what we're going to do. We've seen the results of businesses taking woke campaigns. And even within the Democratic Party, the squad, which is, let's face it, these are the folks that pushed the woke agenda, they're being more and more marginalized. And
Okay,
it's
I
their
need to interject something on that. At this point, do most Democrats? It's a question. All this, be careful what you wish for. Load the day that the Bernie Bros and the Squad and all these other shitheads joined their party. Was that at in the end the destruction of the Democratic Party?
Yes, it was, because these folks don't identify as Democrats. They identify as democratic socialists, independent socialists. Yes, they caucus with the Democrats, but they're not really
I
Democrats.
actually know what they
And-
should identify as. How
yeah,
about mental patients?
yeah, and the party made a huge mistake by kowtowing to them. They should have stood up to them and said, no, you are not real Democrats. If you were real Democrats, you would not identify as democratic socialists. But they were
And that
afraid
is the
that
rub.
was
No, Dr. Lopkin, that's why you're the doctor. Sometimes short term pain means long term gain. You would have had some bitching and moaning, some theatrics, but in the end, it would have made your party stronger and more resilient, and probably politically a lot more able.
yes, and quite frankly, had had the Democrats shut down the squad, shut down the radical left, they would have they wouldn't have had any problems with Tulsi Gabbard, Kristen Sinema, Joe Manchin. These folks would have been happy to toe the party line because it would have been a logical party line. They would have been able to pull independents. They're losing independents right and left. They would have been able to pull more African Americans and Hispanics. Also,
Oh, it'd
Hispanics
be
and
even
African
bigger than
Americans are
political. It's a lot of
leaving the
also it's a
party.
lot of the woke shit. If you're a Hispanic, they're very religious, very formally family oriented, and they don't need this shit. They're
Right.
not into like trans education and all this crap. So
The
I think all in all, it's political, social, educational. It's been a disaster to the very groups that they always thought they could count on. It's just a party of elitists, and I don't know what else.
the Democratic Party needs to clean house. Now, I'm not saying the Party doesn't need to clean house, but with the Democrats, they've got two big problems. They've got the radical left, who are not real Democrats, And the party needs to tell them, sit down, shut up, and do what you're told because you are destroying America and the party. And then there are Democrats that the party needs to say, you know what? We appreciate your service, but it's time to go away. Case in point,
Time for the dog
Hillary.
track.
Yeah, case in point, Hillary Clinton.
Oh
Hillary,
God,
you
crooked.
lost. You lost to Obama. You lost to Trump. You are possibly the one politician that's more polarizing than Donald Trump. You need to shut up and go away. She doubled down just the other day. Her biggest mistake in the 2016 election was
The
calling
big
Trump
mistake. Yes.
supporters. Well, she made a lot of mistakes in that
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
campaign,
Yeah.
but the biggest one was calling Trump supporters deplorables. Well, she doubled down this week saying Republicans are not a political party anymore, they're a cult. And it's like, really? You're insulting half the voters. You need to shut up and go away. Hillary
Yeah, and I
cannot.
also recommend that she goes down to 2 bottles of Chardonnay a day, and maybe the
Yeah,
third's a little bit of an excess.
I think Hillary cannot believe that she lost in
Oh no, that's
2016.
to me. I gotta
She
say
cannot
that to me
believe
cracks
that she
me up.
lost in 2020. She just cannot accept this. And I want to also, I recommend for Hillary serious therapy. And I also want to tell our listeners point blank that neither Jeff nor I are suicidal, and we are both in very good health. So if something happens to us, question.
There you go. Yes. Wait, I'm gonna order another bolt on my door just in case. You never know. You never know. No, you talked about wokeism, and you say in the corporate ranks they're actually it's going the other way, but there is are well at least the thought of the concept of law firms to sue um, leadership, corporate leadership like Budweiser, Anheuser Busch, like Target, and I say deservingly so. They should have their ass handed to them. How out of touch can you be? I don't know where you went to effing school, but your job, it's like business 101. Maximize share ethically, that is, maximize shareholder value. Hello. And I still get back. I'm not getting into the whole trans thing. I don't really care about that. But I've been to corporate presentations. I would love to. I'd pay money if I could go back in time and be on that or be in that room. I wouldn't say a word. And I just want to see them, the geniuses that said having a feminine trans as our new spokesperson for Bud Light seems like just a peachy keen idea. I just need to see that. These people are getting what 5 million, 10 million a year in salary. I would just say I don't understand.
Yeah,
Like
I
really?
mean, what has been going on with corporate America, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, that there was a story on CNN that they were actually speculating that Disney has been pushing a woke agenda, not because they believe in a woke agenda, but as a distraction from their failing businesses. Now you've got law firms talking to shareholders because shareholders have lost a fortune because the stocks of these companies are plummeting and
I know. Just
share.
let me interject one thing. Bud Light has lost their status as America's #1 beer. That is monumental. That doesn't happen every day. It happens over
No,
years. It happens all the time, but not in a period of 2 months. I've never seen that. No
no,
way.
and this actually does not happen possibly ever. Oh, I'm blanking on the guy's name from the guy from Shark Tank,
O'Leary.
Kevin O'Leary. Yes, Kevin O'Leary was talking about this, and he mentioned that Anheuser-Busch has lost 20% of sales. This is unheard of. Beer sales usually drop 2%. Then they'll go up 2%, maybe 1%. On an extreme quarter, it might be 3%. 20% is unheard of. Target lost $6 billion. That's billion dollars in shareholder value because not only, and this is not just because of the pride parade that they put on with their merchandise. They also started campaigning against Israel. They were contributing to anti-Semitic groups. So
No, they're the best. They are the best Nazi retail organization in the world. I think they're excellent.
yeah, so
Maybe they're onto something. A new niche market. Nazis. There you go.
there you go. But now shareholders are saying, you know what? This is our money. Now, as a business coach, I tell my clients all the time there is a hierarchy. Everybody talks about the stakeholders. The hierarchy is you take care of your employees first. The reason for this is that when you take care of your employees, they will take care of the customer. The customer is the second tier. The customer has to be taken care of because they're the ones that are spending the money. The shareholders are the ones that benefit from the money the customers are bringing in. Taking care of your employees does not mean donating to their pet political projects. It means making sure they have health care. It means making sure that they are paid a fair salary for what they're doing. It means making sure that when they come to work, they're not stressed out over every little thing and cursing the fact that they have to work for you. Disney is the perfect example of this. They have failed at this for years to the point that Disney employees used to refer to the company as Mauschwitz.
Whoa, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And
Well, I would say one thing. One of the worst environments, from what I've read, it's a Disney owned by Disney, obviously, would be probably was a really great company before Disney took control. ESPN. Now they're going after laying off anyone like Susie Colbert and others at like high pay, low hours, and they're already in the shitter. That's going to even make it worse. These
yeah,
are the people tune in for this. They don't tune in for Billy Bob, who also cleans up after everyone after he's done with his broadcast. No, these are the people. Yeah, low hours, but high visibility. Hello, genius.
yeah, ESPN has been badly run for quite a long time. Honestly, I'm surprised that Disney well, no, actually, I'm not surprised because I think Disney probably has tried to get rid of ESPN, but you can't spin it off because there's no value there and nobody wants to buy it. So they're
Yeah, I
sort
think
of
half is just the model. The world has changed. ESPN 1980. Is the whole revolution in cable. Obviously, that model's changed, but there is a part to it. I used to be. I'm not like a. Yeah, I love sports, but I don't really give a shit about Billy Bob's ankle is broken. But I used to watch ESPN because it was funny and great. It is. I'd rather watch probably reruns of like Lassie. It's
well,
awful.
the big downfall for ESPN was when all of the sports teams started investing in their own channels. SNY has the Mets, the Knicks, the Yukon Huskies. The Yankees own Yes, the Yankees Entertainment Sports Network. The Red Sox and I believe the
Nesson.
Patriots have Nesson. And there's all of these networks all over the country.
Chicago, I forgot what that is. WGN, I think.
Well, no, WGN was a local station that was a super station. And now they're actually called News Nation. They're an all news net. Well, not all
Okay.
news network, but they're moving in that direction. But when all of the sports teams started saying, you know what, we can actually get, instead of trying to negotiate with ESPN to air our games, we can air all our games and keep all the money, keep all the money. And
In my
when they
personal opinion, the train has left the station. I do agree with everything you're saying, but you can still control the things you can control. And they went from fun, entertaining, to they take themselves way too seriously, way too much politics, and way too much friggin' boring. How does that sound?
well,
Boring. Boring.
yeah, they should never have started getting into politics. They needed to stick to sports. But
How about fun?
the other problem, and this goes to the fun, is that they kept spinning off too many networks. ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN College, ESPN. There isn't enough sports to fill all of these channels. And there aren't enough people that are knowledgeable about sports, that have the personalities to broadcast and bring in viewers. So they stretch themselves way too thin. And now you've got this shadow of what ESPN used to be.
And I do agree with you 100%. If ABC, if Disney could get rid of them, they would get rid of it in 5.2 seconds.
Yeah,
5.2.
yeah, I think they would get rid of them quickly. And again, that's businesses have to take care of business. They have to pay attention to their employees, they have to pay attention to their customers, and they have to pay attention to the shareholders. And those three have to be in lockstep. The employees have to be focused on the customer. The customer has to be kept happy so that they are continually bringing in business, so that the shareholders, who are the ones that own the company, can make their money. Doesn't matter what the customer's politics are, doesn't matter what the employees' politics are. If you want to be a political activist in your free time, great, go ahead. You have that right. This is America. You have freedom of speech. You have the freedom to go out and fight for the causes that you believe in. But
The
when
other
it comes
problem,
to
I
your
don't know if it,
job,
I think one of the problems is probably insurmountable is that kids, if ESPN, it's like you and I talking to them about, yeah, I went to a great Rolling Stones concert. Like, really? They don't access information through Sports Center. Everything's online. When they go home, they probably watch zero ESPN. Zero.
oh, absolutely.
Unless the
Well, I mean,
Super Bowl or maybe
sp-
a great, playoff games, I got that. But as far as, getting the highlights, there is no way, because I've seen it firsthand, they're going to ESPN.
no, Sports Center has the same problem that the network evening news has. By the time that airs, everybody has the information already. They've gotten it on their phones, they've gotten it on their computers. There's no reason to sit down and watch them for half an hour, because they already know what they're going to say. They've seen the game, they've seen the clips.
You are the doctor of business. What do you think the average age of a nightly news person is?
At
Mr. Sherman's going to say 58. How does that sound? And I really stand by that.
Actually, I think it's a little higher than that. I know
There you go.
CBS had done a study that the average age on their network was 62. Now, CBS does tend to skew a little older than ABC and NBC do, but you're talking for the nightly news, you're talking about that. 58 could be a good average for the three, because younger viewers don't tune in. They get their news from notifications on their phone. By the time the news comes around at 6:30 in the evening, they already know what the days is. This is why there used to be, in most major cities, there was a morning paper and there was an evening paper. Now you're lucky if there's one paper in most cities,
Well, where
because
we
but
live, there are no papers.
yeah, because by the time you a, get to print, everybody already has the news. There's a local business paper here in Connecticut that I enjoy, but they send it to me for free because I'm in the business community. But every once in a while, they will try to get me to subscribe, and I laugh because first of all, you're sending it to me for free, so why should I pay for it?
You've
But
already established value, yes.
second of all, by the time the print version gets to me, I've already read all the stories online.
In my humble opinion, Dr. Lackham, the only papers besides, like, whatever, I don't know how the New York, the only papers that have any kind of viability are the local papers, like I don't know, the Litchfield Times, just because you get the local thing, the Pumpkin Festival. Not saying their business model is going to be great, but yeah, you
Well,
read
no,
that, it's kind of funny. The
but
little bit on the police blotter, it's kind of funny.
no, you're
Would I
absolutely right.
subscribe? No.
The local papers that cover hyper local events, whether they do it online or they do it in print, these are the papers that are surviving. And in fact, Warren Buffett invested in a number of those papers to try to keep them alive because you can't get hyper local news from watching a cable news network. From even the local news, we have four major local channels here in Connecticut. They all try to cover the entire state. So the fact of the matter is, they're not actually getting all that local that you want to see. Depending on which station, they all seem to have their own niche. There's one channel here that they'll cover every fire in the state. Um, you know, but if you're stuck in traffic, you used to be able to turn on a local radio station and find out what was going on. Now you have to go to an app like Waze or Apple Maps or that's telling what's going on.
Very interesting. Well, Dr. Lopkin, that concludes another edition of Carnivore Bites. Whoa, we have a thunderstorm coming in our esteemed studios. But our listeners can give their input, can't they?
They can go to xvadio.com/connect. Let us know what you think. You can also find us at the Carnivore Radio Facebook page. Message us and let us know, what do you want us to cover? What do you want us to look into? What's your opinion on the issues of the day? We want to hear. And of course, you can catch every episode of Carnivore Bites at the Carnivore Radio website, xvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Amazon Music, Audible, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech.
Thank you, Dr. Lopkin, and thank our listeners.
We'll see you next time.